Imagine you're soaring at 38,000 feet, cruising above the clouds. Everything is calm. The gentle hum of the engines is the only sound, a lullaby in the sky. Then, a sudden, violent jolt. Not just turbulence, but something fundamentally wrong. The cabin lights flicker and die, plunging everyone into near darkness. This isn't a movie. This was the reality for the passengers of United Airlines Flight 232. On July 19, 1989, a DC-10 took off from Denver, headed for Chicago. It was a routine flight, just like thousands of others that day. In the cockpit were Captain Al Haynes, First Officer William Records, and Flight Engineer Dudley Dvorak. They were a seasoned crew with decades of combined experience. But nothing could have prepared them for what was about to happen. About an hour into the flight, while cruising over Iowa, a catastrophic failure occurred. The fan disc of the tail-mounted engine disintegrated. The explosion was immense. Shrapnel, flying at supersonic speeds, tore through the aircraft's tail section like hot knives through butter. In an instant, the plane lost all three of its hydraulic systems. Now, to understand how devastating this was, you need to know what hydraulics do on a plane like the DC-10. They are the aircraft's muscles. They control everything. The rudder to turn, the elevators to go up and down, the ailerons to bank. Without hydraulics, the pilots had no conventional way to steer the massive 400,000-pound jet. It was like trying to drive a car with no steering wheel, no brakes, and a stuck accelerator. In the cockpit, the crew heard a loud bang and felt the shutter. The autopilot clicked off. When Captain Haynes grabbed his control column, it was useless. It moved freely, but the plane didn't respond. He turned to his crew and said the words no pilot ever wants to say. "I have no controls." The aircraft immediately began to bank into a right turn, its nose starting to dip towards the earth. This was the beginning of a death spiral. The situation was beyond critical. Standard procedure for this kind of failure didn't exist. There was nothing in the flight manual, because a total hydraulic failure was considered statistically impossible. The crew was literally writing the emergency checklist as they went along. But these pilots refused to give up. They discovered one tiny glimmer of hope. By varying the thrust of the two remaining wing-mounted engines, they could exert a small, clumsy amount of control. Pushing the left engine's throttle forward would make the plane want to turn right. Pushing the right engine's throttle would make it want to turn left. By carefully and constantly adjusting the power, they could make crude skidding turns and influence their descent. It was a brutal, physically exhausting task, like trying to balance a bowling ball on a pinhead. As they fought to control the crippled jet, another hero emerged from the passenger cabin. Denny Fitch, a DC-10 training instructor who was flying as a passenger, came forward to offer his help. He knelt on the cockpit floor between the pilots, his hands on the throttles, making the minute adjustments they needed. For the next 45 minutes, these four men worked together in a symphony of desperation and skill, fighting a battle that by all logic was already lost. They were a flying brick, making only wide, looping right-hand turns. Their goal was to get to a runway, any runway. Air traffic control diverted them to Sioux Gateway Airport in Sioux City, Iowa. The emergency crews on the ground were told to prepare for the worst. They had a massive, uncontrollable jetliner coming in way too fast and at a dangerously steep angle. The crew's plan was to aim for the runway and at the last possible moment cut the power, hoping the plane would settle onto the ground. But as they neared the airport, a final cruel twist of fate occurred. Just moments from the ground, the right wing dipped uncontrollably. Captain Haynes yelled left, left, left over the intercom, calling for more power on the right engine to lift the wing, but it was too late. The right wingtip hit the runway first. The impact sent the aircraft cartwheeling down the runway at over 250 miles per hour. It broke apart, engulfed in a massive fireball, and skidded into a cornfield next to the airport. To anyone watching, it looked like a completely unsurvivable crash. But then, the impossible happened. Amid the smoke and wreckage, people started to emerge. First one, then another, then dozens. They were dazed, injured, but alive. Rescue workers rushed into the chaotic scene, pulling survivors from the twisted metal. When the final count was taken, the numbers were staggering. Of the 296 people on board, 184 survived. While the loss of 112 lives was a terrible tragedy, the survival of so many was nothing short of a miracle. It was a testament to the incredible airmanship of the crew. They had flown the unflyable. The investigation later confirmed that the crew's actions were heroic. A simulation of the same event was run many times, with other experienced pilots trying to land the plane. Not a single simulation resulted in a survivable landing. Captain Haynes and his crew did what no one else could. Their teamwork, communication, and sheer refusal to give up turned a certain catastrophe into one of the most incredible stories of survival in aviation history. The story of United 232 reminds us that even when things seem impossible, human ingenuity and the will to survive can lead to extraordinary outcomes. It's a powerful lesson in courage and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.